Welcome to a world where reality twists into nightmare, where shadows come to life, and secrets lurk in every dark corner. Tonight, we're diving into a chilling tale, a story that will make you question what's real and what's lurking just beyond your sight.
The locked door in a small town in Ohio, a grand old hotel, sat on the corner of Main Street, a forgotten relic of the past. Known as the Grand, it had been the town's pride in the 1920s, hosting glamorous parties and even a few famous guests. But in 1948, a fire broke out in the East Wing, claiming several lives and leaving the building charred and damaged. After that night, the Grand closed its doors, and for over 70 years it remained untouched, a crumbling monument to tragedy. Locals said the place was haunted. Strange lights, whispers in the dark, figures glimpsed through dusty, broken windows. Stories circulated, but nobody dared go inside, until Tom, an urban explorer fascinated by abandoned places, decided he would see it for himself. He convinced his best friend Jason to come along, and one chilly autumn night, the two arrived at the Grand, flashlights in hand, ready to capture whatever secrets the old hotel still held. The moment they stepped inside, a chill swept over them, and an eerie silence filled the air. Dust motes floated like tiny spirits in the beams of their flashlights, casting long, ghostly shadows against the once elegant wallpaper, now peeling and faded. Old chandeliers hung overhead, twisted and blackened by smoke, their crystals cracked and covered in grime. As they moved through the grand lobby, their footsteps echoed off the walls, disturbing the silence. Tom took a series of photos, his camera capturing fragments of broken furniture, scorched walls, and faded murals. They moved from room to room, exploring the remains of what had once been an opulent ballroom, a dining hall and a winding staircase that creaked ominously with every step. Finally, on the second floor, they found themselves in a narrow hallway lined with doors to guest rooms. Many of the doors were ajar, revealing dark, empty rooms stripped of anything valuable long ago. But halfway down the hall, one door stood out. Unlike the others, this one was locked and looked almost new. The wood was freshly painted a deep mahogany, and the brass handle gleamed, as though someone had been taking care of it. Tom tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge. He glanced at Jason, curiosity in his eyes. "Maybe there's something behind it," he whispered. "Something the fire didn't touch." Jason shrugged, unimpressed. "Dude, it's probably just jammed. Let's keep going." Just as they were about to leave, they heard a faint noise, a soft, rhythmic knock, coming from the other side of the door. Both of them froze, exchanging wide-eyed glances. The knocking continued, quiet but persistent. It sounded almost desperate. "Hello?" Tom called out, pressing his ear to the door. For a moment, there was silence, and then a voice, faint and trembling, barely more than a whisper. "Please, let me out." Tom felt a shiver run down his spine. The voice was weak, pleading, like someone who'd been trapped there for years. Against his better judgment, he pressed on the door again, desperate to see inside, but it still wouldn't budge. "Maybe it's someone playing a trick," Jason whispered, though his voice shook. "Let's just get out of here." But Tom's curiosity was too strong. He shone his flashlight through the narrow gap under the door, trying to catch a glimpse of the room beyond. All he saw was darkness. "There's got to be a way to get in," he muttered, inspecting the frame for a loose panel or keyhole. Suddenly, a powerful draft swept through the hallway, extinguishing their flashlights. They stood in total darkness, hearts pounding. Then, with a loud creak, the locked door slowly swung open, revealing a dimly lit room. Inside, the room was empty, save for a single wooden chair placed in the center, facing the doorway. Tom hesitated, feeling an almost magnetic pull to step inside. But Jason grabbed his arm, his face pale. "Let's go. I got a bad feeling about this." Ignoring him, Tom took a cautious step into the room, his flashlight flickering back to life. As he shone it around, he noticed something horrifying. The walls were covered in deep scratches, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. Handprints stained the wallpaper, some smeared with what looked like old, dried blood. His stomach twisted, and he took a step back, feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. Then, without warning, the door slammed shut behind them. Jason screamed and tried the handle, but it was locked tight. They were trapped. The air grew thick and a chill seeped through the room, making it hard to breathe. Tom's flashlight flickered again, casting wild shadows across the walls. Suddenly a figure appeared in the corner, a faint outline of a woman, her face hidden in shadow, her body slightly transparent. She stood motionless, her head tilted at an unnatural angle, as though she were examining them. "Why did you leave me here?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The words echoed around the room, each syllable filled with pain and betrayal. Jason and Tom froze, unable to move, their hearts hammering in their chests. The woman's shadow began to glide toward them, her figure growing clearer with each step. Her eyes were hollow, black voids that seemed to swallow the light, and her face was twisted in a grotesque mix of sorrow and rage. Tom stammered, We didn't leave you here. We don't know you." But she continued forward, reaching out with one skeletal hand, her voice growing louder, more desperate. "They left me to die in the fire, and I can't leave until someone takes my place." As her hand reached for Tom, he felt an icy grip close around his wrist. His skin burned with cold, and he let out a strangled cry, yanking his arm away. Just then, Jason managed to kick the door open, and they stumbled into the hallway, gasping for breath. They ran, not daring to look back, their footsteps echoing through the empty halls. As they reached the lobby, they heard the sound of a door slamming shut behind them, followed by a faint, ghostly knock, a rhythmic, pleading sound, as though someone were once again trapped inside. The Grand was demolished the following year, reduced to rubble and dust, but the land where it stood remains empty, as though no one dares to build there, and those who walk by on quiet nights swear they can still hear a faint knocking sound, a desperate voice pleading from beyond the veil, whispering, "Let me out."